So I had a friend that worked at a joint venture, a General Motors JV, where their Chinese JV partner was basically stealing everything. And so they were playing guerrilla warfare at the factory. Like, oh, don't look at those servers. Don't look at this manufacturing capability.
I knew when Bush said he was going to move or give tax cuts to companies with manufacturing out of country, this would happen.
Well, next thing you know, China creates a competitor to General Motors. The company was called Chery.
And speaking of China, once China started luring companies over with cheap manufacturing, I just knew they were going to steal all the plans and start making their own stuff with American plans, American intelligence, American business everything. Companies literally sent them whatever they needed in order to manufacture these things. So all China did was copy everything for itself. I mean, look at their military. It's the same damn thing. It all looks the same. All their gear, everything. I mean, they've been copying and stealing information from the U.S. Once they started making technology and putting in backdoors and networking equipment. Come on, man. I can't believe no one else thought of this stuff back then. I was only a kid when all this happened, and I thought of it. There's no way I was the only one. How could no one foresee this?
And they took the Chevy Spark blueprints, like down to the rivet, and created the Chery automobile. Notice that there's one letter difference between.
Notice this is just a car, but there are so many things.
Chevy and Chery. Like even the name.
Wow.
And so that was starting to happen. And it just got worse. Then
what are some of the other ones that you saw?
Well, I mean, look, we had a guy. I was on the finance committee at the American Chamber of Commerce, and I'm not going to say where this guy's company was from because it wouldn't be proper. But a guy came in, and he was the chief technology officer for, let's just say, a big manufacturing company in the U.S. And he sat down with us in the committee and said, the strangest thing happened. I plugged into the Ethernet at my hotel, and my computer just died. And then when I resuscitated it, my hard drive was empty. And I was like, dude, really? You brought your hard drive with all your intellectual property to China?
Really?
And at the time, nobody really thought about it.
Back then.
But I saw this happening every day. Every single day.
I guarantee this is because when George Bush Jr. did that deal making tax cuts for companies sending manufacturing overseas in other countries, that was Daddy Bush and company's big plan for the New World Order. And it backfired. Now China is America's greatest threat and adversary, and they're poised to be, because they stole pretty much all the information that we have for our products. Since everybody's dumbass wants to save money, oh man, that's a whole nother discussion about capitalism and the difference between capitalism and extreme capitalism and healthy capitalism.
I saw the craziest things in China.
What else did you see?
Well, so
did you have, I mean, obviously you did the way that you just described that incident, your reaction to it, but how did you know that they were sucking all the information out of the devices and kind of the...
Because I had started developing relationships with a lot of folks in China and talked to them. And the operating philosophy is, well, if it's not bolted down, I'm just going to take it. They're just letting us have all this stuff for free. Thanks. But there's something more fundamental, and that is what happened in China after Chairman Mao took over is they had this thing called the Great Leap Forward, and then they had the Cultural Revolution, and they eradicated any semblance of morality from society. And so they replaced Mao's little red book, which was their religion at the time, with success, power, success. And the new little g gods became Ferragamo and Gucci and LVMH and success and Harvard. And when you're untethered from any sort of moral core, you'll do anything to become successful, powerful. And you have 1.4 billion or whatever, 1.4 billion people who are just out for bear, looking to make it. And I don't begrudge them because they're hardworking, very hardworking, and
Gotta do what
intelligent
you gotta
people.
do.
But the beef I have is
Can't blame
when
them.
you don't have a moral core, you'll do anything.
Blame Americans for being dumb.
So
American companies for
here we
being
are. We've
stupid
got
and trusting.
a kid in China, and we've got to buy infant formula.
Other countries don't abide
And
by
my
our
wife
laws.
says, "We're not buying Chinese milk formula." It's like, what you got to be kidding me. There are like 200 million Chinese kids here, or whatever the number is. Nope. So every time I'd go to the States, I'd come back with two
Smart.
suitcases of, Nestle Good Start, and she would buy Evian water. And I'm just like watching dollar bills evaporate, thinking it's like the stupidest thing. And it turned out, I want to say in 2007, 2008, that Chinese infant formula companies were putting a plastic called melamine in the infant formula that was poisoning countless children in China, because apparently that melamine artificially beefed up the protein, so they basically were cutting corners and putting chemicals that were hurting people. So
This sounds like the FDA.
I don't know.
Sorry to cut you
So